Hey everybody, it's Letitia Fry and welcome to the 25th anniversary of Arizona Foundation for Women. Now, we may not be able to gather in person right now, but that did not stop any of us and the dedication to the women we serve. So I'm here with you, Letitia Fry, live streaming, but we want you to have the best possible experience. So let's go through a few things. Again, live TV, you're going to have to go through this with me. The first thing is the fact that if you're watching me on Internet Explorer right now, that's not going to work. We want you to copy and paste the link and move over to Firefox, Chrome, or Safari, and they'll have the best live streaming experience. Now, if you're a little tech savvy and you're looking at me in the box and it's kind of covering up some of the buttons, you can actually just click and drag me over a little bit so you can see the buttons. If you can't, don't worry about it, because we've actually thought this through. We don't want you leaving this screen, because I'm going to be interacting with you. That's right. There's a Q&A button so you can actually talk to me and I can talk back with you. But most importantly right now is a phone number I need you to write down. The number is 602-902-1254. Again, 602-902-1254. Here's why that's important. We figured out that if you clicked on the Donate Now button, it takes you away from us. We don't want that to happen. So you text 602-902-1254, the word donate, and it comes right up on your phone, which we all know is right next to you at all times if you're anything like me. So here's what you need. Grab that glass of wine. It's after 5. Get that sparkling water, coffee, whatever floats your boat. We also want you to get your credit card. If you're my age group or others, you're going to need those readers to read it, and that cell phone. So now, it's time to get the program started, and I hope you're locked and loaded because, wow, do we have some exciting, exciting things to share with you. So it's now my great pleasure to welcome my friend and advocate to Arizona Foundation for Women, Carrie Pena.
Welcome to the Arizona Foundation for Women's 2020 Awards event and the celebration of the 25th anniversary of this amazing organization. I'm Carrie Pena, and I'll be your host as we walk through the history, successes, and future of AFW. For those returning this year, thank you for your past support. This is an exciting time for AFW as it enters the next quarter of a century by presenting its first ever virtual event. I'm honored to be here and share this incredible event with all of you. During tonight's journey, you will learn about Arizona Foundation for Women, hear from its amazing founder, its 3 incredible honorees, and several beneficiaries of AFW's hard work. You can also do some shopping on the raffle page and purchase the beautiful necklace that was designed for AFW and strong women just like you. We will conclude the evening with a powerful interview I conduct with Gretchen Carlson. Arizona Foundation for Women's mission is advancing the status of Arizona's women through research, advocacy, and philanthropy to create a better life for women in Arizona by focusing on their safety, health, and economic empowerment. That is the SHE, S-H-E, in She Counts. In 2016, Arizona Foundation for Women was fortunate to have Misha Davis join the team as Chief Executive Officer. Misha has been a major influence in guiding the organization over the past 3 years and into the future.
Thank you, Carrie. You're so sweet for those kind words. And on behalf of our board of directors, our volunteers and staff, I want to thank you for joining me this evening. You know, we're really passionate about women, and when a woman's power and potential are respected, children and families are healthier, our economies are stronger, and our communities prosper. And at Arizona Foundation for Women, we amplify every woman's, her safety, her health, and her financial needs so she can break free from the challenges, the fear, and the biases that confine her. And as Carrie stated earlier, this is our 25th anniversary, and over the years, we've worked tirelessly to make our community a better place for women. AFW has evolved over the years, and we now address issues that weren't even on the horizon, which we've always done years, and this is like years ago. But the perfect example is this event. We went virtual. AFW will continue, no matter what, to work hard through our research, our advocacy, and our philanthropy to create solutions to help women alleviate the problems of Arizona's women. And coming up this fall, we'll release this report called The Status of Women in Arizona, and I want you to watch for it. It's a research project updated every 4 years that gives a realistic picture of the status of women in our community and how it compares to the rest of the states. Our annual luncheon was scheduled for March 16th, but due to the constraints based on the communities around the world, that event did not take place. And the sponsors were really great in staying behind us through all of this. And we couldn't do this without their support, and our event could not go on. And so we want to continue that and help women in our state who happen to be those hit hardest by this pandemic. And one of those individuals is Deb Carsons of the Carsons Family Fund, and as well as Southwest Airlines. They're both of our presenting sponsors, and it's been remarkable to have their support and dedication of both these fine organizations over the past years. We applaud Deb Carsons for her commitment to enriching our community, and to Southwest Airlines. They've been a great partner to work with as we strive to reach our goals. We would love the opportunity to have more corporate sponsors as year-long partners to support our mission. So please feel free to contact me or our office to discuss these corporate partner opportunities. An event of this magnitude doesn't happen easily, and we need everyone's support. Our committee is composed of our angels, and the guiding lights of the Angels Committee have been Darlene Keller-Price and Lisa Molina. Dar and Lisa worked diligently to create an extraordinary event, and then worked with our team to transition to this virtual event. We could not have made this happen without them. They have been true champions and just great through this entire process. Thank you so much, Dar and Lisa, and I'm so glad to introduce them both to you today.
Hi, I'm Darlene, and I have been honored to co-chair the annual luncheon for the second year. This year, my dear buddy Lisa Molina, one of the original Angels. Did you know Farrah Fawcett? Oh, I loved her hair. Joined me in this important role. It has been a fun and rewarding experience to work with a wonderful organization and the people who support it. We hope that you find the stories you are about to share very inspiring.
Well, and Dar, it's really good to see you. What great eyes you have.
Oh, thanks, you
And
too.
can you believe this year we've had? I mean, we're having you do it this way.
I know. Why did we cancel?
Oh,
I can't
God, I can't
remember.
even talk about it. Dar and I would like to acknowledge the generous support of our SHE sponsors, the Kefi Catalyst, Rosedon, AARP, and the Arizona Cardinals, and last, the Walton Family Foundation. We are profoundly grateful for your generous support. For a listing of all the wonderful companies and organizations that helped us out this year, please go to your email program that we sent you earlier.
Now for our crowning glory, our angels. This is a group of women and men listed in the program booklet who support and share a commitment to AFW's mission. They work endless hours to put together an incredible live event, and we're also committed and flexible to move into a new direction with today's virtual event.
Yeah, they really did do a great job. Over the years, AFW has had countless businesses and community members wear the title Angel, and their involvement has been a force of nature and has propelled AFW into what now is our 25th anniversary. By the way, our amazing raffle is taking place as we speak and is online. Just go to your computer and you will see the box on your screen. Check and pull up the raffle. Please purchase your raffle tickets. All these wonderful items have been generously donated by local businesses and supporters.
And they are fantastic.
They're amazing
Oh my
this
gosh.
year.
Thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Please be safe,
Healthy,
be healthy.
and we love you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dar, Lisa, and all of the angels. They are just a perfect example that shows that the work that we do, however large or small, will become part of the solution and that it can be a joy to accomplish. As they mentioned, make sure you check out the raffle and purchase your raffle tickets. So many incredible items to win. Before we talk to this year's honorees, let me take you back to the beginning. The extraordinary journey of AFW started with an idea from its founder, Dr. Marilyn R. Seaman, and brings us to today, the 25th anniversary of the Arizona Foundation for Women. AFW has been blessed with an abundance of community support and successes that have lifted the lives of so many women in Arizona. Marilyn should be lauded and shown the appreciation that we have for her and for her compassionate, innovative ways to finding solutions.
We are all so honored to be a part of the extraordinary journey that started with an idea from our founder, Marilyn R. Seaman. That brings us to today, the 25th anniversary of the Arizona Foundation for Women. AFW has been blessed with an abundance of community support and successes that have lifted the lives of so many women and children in Arizona. Just to think, in 1995, Marilyn, along with just a few friends and colleagues, set out with a simple yet ambitious idea to strengthen the support systems for women within our community. This idea would grow to become a unique source of research, convener of conversation, and place of hope and funding that makes an important difference in the lives of women and children in Arizona. Arizona Foundation for Women has endured for 25 years. It has withstood our changing world and increased its reach and scope to include new and diverse issues facing us today. We admire the dedication and perseverance that Marilyn utilized to inspire this journey and engage so many others to join in the fight and foresight to make this a better world. However, this does not happen on its own. Marilyn has a special way of inspiring people to do the right thing. I have had the honor of experiencing it and witnessing it in action. It typically begins with a tea and muffin, usually something Marilyn has baked herself, and ends with you committing to something that Marilyn saw in your heart before you did. Marilyn's vision, dedication, and perseverance have always been and will continue to be an inspiration. And as a result, the AFW mission to improve the lives of women and children in Arizona will endure. Please join me in thanking Marilyn, our founder, and to honor her on this special occasion, the silver anniversary for the Foundation, Arizona Foundation for Women. To show our profound appreciation and love for Marilyn, it is with great honor that she was presented a customized commemorative she necklace designed and crafted by Claudia Kretschmer of Stephen Kretschmer Jewelry. Before Marilyn introduced our first honoree, let me tell you that in 2001, an award was created to honor Marilyn and later was renamed after her. Just like Marilyn, it is awarded to a person who is nationally recognized business and community leader and who's excelled in everything they touch, with women's issues being their true passion.
Hello, I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego, here to join in recognition of Dr. Marilyn Seaman. Dr. Seaman is an advocate for children, for women, an expert on so many important issues, including corporate governance. Although officially retired, she continues to give back to our community, whether it's helping children experiencing homelessness through the Children's First Academy, fighting human trafficking, or domestic violence. She is a true community leader. She has helped build a better Phoenix and a better Arizona. It is my honor as Phoenix Mayor to proclaim June 11th, 2020 as Dr. Marilyn Seaman Day in Phoenix, Arizona, and ask all residents to join me in celebrating this incredible woman. Marilyn, thank you and congratulations.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today to celebrate 25 years of listening to each other's stories and helping those in need. Rarely do we have an opportunity to look at the stories of the past through a lens that allows us to create a better story for the future. If every life is an odyssey, how and where we connect defines our existence and creates our humanity. In the life of our honoree, Barb Strachan, her wounds come from the same source as her power. She embodies a woman who went from having no place to go to one who created a collective moment to empower women and girls. Barb Strachan's gift is a steely thread of strength running through her veins. This strength and an ideological commitment to social justice have taken her on a path from sorrow to survival to success through a life of action and commitment. When I was asked to describe Barb, I answered, she reminded me of a mermaid who got out of the water, shed her tail, and learned to dance. Her generosity in sharing her story and turning it into the novel of her life begins and ends with an ideological commitment to social justice. Her powerful expression through action has constituted her personal and professional life. As a leader in the Girl Scouts' work on social justice, to the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network's work in fighting human trafficking, to her commitment to educating and empowering young girls to enjoy healthy relationships, hers is a story shared not to memorialize a common grief, but to prevent its recurrence. What do we want from each other after we have shared our stories? We want to begin to understand, to begin to see and create a better future on the backs of our collective experience, empathy, and education. Thank you for gathering today to honor a true sister to us all, Barb Strachan.
Wow. I am so surprised, humbled, and honored. I couldn't believe when I got the call from Marilyn that she saw me in the light that she does. 20 years ago, I was at a crossroads, and I met a group of women who saw in me what I couldn't see in myself. I had been through homelessness and domestic violence, and they wrapped their arms around me and encouraged and supported and mentored me. They encouraged me to go back to school. You know, I got my bachelor's and my master's, and this group of women, they're peppered all through the audience. I can see their faces, and I'm just really, again, honored and humbled and surprised. I was also taught that I have a responsibility to plant seeds and to create opportunities for girls and women that are inclusive, that are safe spaces and safe places for them to become leaders in their own lives. Girl Scouts is a place that did that for me. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to create those opportunities for all, especially girls and women who are marginalized. And one of the areas that I'm most passionate about is the anti-human trafficking work. I'm fortunate to be involved with the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network and with a lot of different organizations that help girls and women escape from that horrific lifestyle. I want to thank the Arizona Foundation for Women and especially Marilyn. Marilyn, you're my rock star. You loved me when I couldn't love myself, and I value and appreciate you. So thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Letitia Fry, and I'm back. That was incredible. So now that we're having a good time, and hopefully you figured this out, whether you're watching me on the big screen, movie over, just want to go through a couple of things. Because remember, I'm live streaming with you. This is totally live and interactive. So I'm going to call out some people in a minute that have been donating. I went on in this time and did it myself. It's so easy. Remember, 602-902-1254. 602-902-1254. Text the word donate to that number, and you don't have to leave this screen to donate. You can do it on your phone, which I just did. It was so easy. But I want to remind you, we can't do this without our partners. So here at Arizona Foundation for Women, it's about She Counts. S for safety, H for health, and E for economic empowerment. And these are our SHE partners. At that S level for safety, a big shout out to Deb Carson's and the Carson's Family Fund. Thank you for being a title sponsor, along with Southwest Airlines. I know I'm not the only one dying to be free to move about the country again. In that H for health, we have Kefi Catalyst, and of course Rosenden that joined in there. And in the bottom there is economic empowerment with the Arizona Cardinals, go Cards, and of course, our friends at AARP. Those are our title sponsors. On the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a whole host of $5,000 sponsors and more. The outpouring from the community as Arizona Foundation for Women move forward in the virtual space has been outstanding. So I want to remind you, I hope you have your glass of wine or your sparkling water, your snack, that you have your phone, your credit card, and of course your glasses. Because now I've taught you what and how basically we're doing this. But now it's more important that we understand why we're doing this. So it's now my pleasure to introduce you to our 5 grantees.
So when they got there, there was the mother, 2 children. One was a 12-year-old boy. They each were carrying a garbage bag with whatever they could get in there at the last minute. The 12-year-old is what really got to me on this case. The 12-year-old had a broken nose and bruises on his face, which happened during this assault when he was trying to actually protect his mom. And once he realized that they were safe, he told our advocates, he said, "Thank you so much for protecting my mom. I think he would have killed her." And so even though he was also a victim in that case, his whole focus was the safety of his mom.
Every patient has a story. And this particular patient, when she came to us, she was so defeated by so many failed reconstructive surgeries after being diagnosed with breast cancer. And I invited this patient to go and take a class. And I said, I know you're an active person and I know you haven't been able to physically do the things you needed to do because physically you don't look the same. But I want to encourage you to go and meet the directors of the dance studio and see if this is something that you would like to do for the month of October. This patient not only excelled in this dancing, she is competing and she is traveling with this dance studio all over Arizona. She has a new normal, and this has given her the self-esteem. She's been able to get out there and wear these amazing costumes and know that she's just as beautiful, even though she's not completed the way she had hoped to be.
This particular person, Sherry, came in as a one person. Her 5 children were taken away from her. Since she's been in our organization, she went through our Hope programs of hope, and she transitioned into our transitional housing program. She got her 5 children back. Her drive was to get those kids back. She knew that she'd messed up, that she got the love that she needed and the attention and the resources by the foundation to help us help those kids. Those kids go to school just like anybody else's kids. They do not know that they're sheltered kids. With the foundation's help and support, they're clothed to look like anybody else going to school.
She found employment, so came to Maggie's Place and partnered with her family coach and got a job, started saving money, looking to the future. But on her way home from work, one night, it was late, she was tired, late picking up baby from daycare and driving past her old neighborhood. And that temptation just started rising and rising strongly. But instead of stopping, she got on the phone and she called her mentor, her AmeriCorps mentor. And her name was Emily. And Emily stayed on the phone with her the whole drive home and said, "Come home. We're going to get you through this. And I will watch the baby and we will find a meeting for you to go to tonight. But come home. You have a safe place." And she did. And she came home and she made it. And she has been sober, I think, for 3 years now. And she's really successful.
So one of our clients, her name is Shannon, and she was in foster care. And when she turned 18, she was out of foster care. And she went to live with someone that she thought loved her. And when she got pregnant is when she knew, I need to change. I need to do something different with my life. I need to give my children the childhood that I never had. If I could, I'd love to share a quote from Shannon. Everyone underestimated me, except Live and Learn. Everyone else thought I couldn't do it, and I probably wasn't worth it. But me and Live and Learn, we knew my determination. I did it, and that's my accomplishment.
Hey everybody, so I'm back and I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. So here's the point. I'm now with you for 15 minutes live, totally live and interactive. So I'm going to give some shout outs to some people that have been giving. So you heard me talk about our sponsors earlier in Kefi Catalyst. Well, I want to shout out to Cynthia Grassman. She just gave us $1,000. Karen Simmons, another $1,000. Carol Lyons is in at $500. Of course, Rosalind Silver, another $500. Thank you. And Deanna Castle, thank you for $500. Jill Watts jumped in at $25, and Julie Tonich, another $500. I want to point out that even our very own board member, Michael Strati, thank you so much for jumping in at $100. And that fantastic lady that was just back there being actually honored, Barb, she just gave us $50. They're amazing people. Jamie Robinson jumped in at $25. Mary Wheeler's in at $100. Now, I might butcher this name a little, but Shilpareo, I see you out there, $25. Thank you. And of course, now it's time for me to tell you why we're here. So those of you that know me, that know if I'm on a stage, I would dive into the fact that I actually went out in the community and spent time. So here's the thing. I learned a lot last week with the 5 grantees, but let's first start with Arizona Foundation for Women. Look, I've been working alongside these gals for quite some time, and I'll be honest, I don't think until this year, when I truly dove in, I understood the importance of the 3 aspects of what they're truly about. So that first one is research, okay? Now that may not sound like a lot, but when you have other nonprofits that I'm going to talk about that talk about the fact that 28% of Arizona families cannot afford the $9,437 for annual child care, how do they know that? It comes from the research of the Arizona Foundation for Women. Every 4 years they put out a report. But I'm going to be honest with you, I've been on the front lines for 2 weeks now with a whole host of nonprofits here in Arizona. And now I'm going to speak to you from the heart. COVID-19 is not going to be about the physical loss of life from the virus, and it's not going to be about the financial impact. It's going to be about women and children. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I've been out on the front lines, and here's what I've learned. Right now, everyone is silent. They're silent because they're indoors. They don't have access to tell you what's going on at home from domestic violence. Children that are normally reported usually actually attack between 3 and 5 because no one's home. They're home all day. Teachers, the percentage in the summer of actual reports goes down about 35 to 40%. Kids didn't have school. Domestic violence victims, and I'm going to tell you more about that. One of the statistics about our research, we rank number 2 in the nation for women that are actually killed in domestic violence. Now, we have some great statistics too, but research is pivotal because in the next 4 years, when the next report comes out, it'll be post-COVID. And I'm telling you, there's a tsunami coming of women in particular that are falling through the cracks. 67% of single households are run by women, and many of them are just above the poverty line, if not trying to get above it, and they're falling through the cracks. So let's talk about that. That's research. What's the next part? Advocacy. So those of you might remember, for a lot of times in Arizona, we've had headlines that talk about sex trafficking and talk about young girls under the age of 18. Before Arizona Foundation for Women got involved in that issue, those girls were actually treated as criminals. They were actually sent from there to jail. Not anymore. They're seen as victims, and they're actually put through the many services, and many of which we support, to help get them out of sex trafficking, back on their feet, and healthy women, because she counts. And what's that last part? It's the next part we're about to tackle here, philanthropy. Since 1995, in the beginning, over $2.5 million has been pumped back in via grants into the nonprofits, predominantly small nonprofits that are on the front lines servicing the women of Arizona. So let's talk about them, okay? Because this is what I did in the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to apologize now because there's going to be a couple times I am going to choke up, because what we're up against is astronomical. So let's first talk with Impact One. You would think in the host of COVID-19, how could a nonprofit run by Elizabeth and 3 other women under her could possibly be affected greatly when it deals with hope in a box, prosthesis, and wigs, and different things that are needed for a woman going through breast cancer. Remember, it's 1 in 8 in the United States that will actually come down with a diagnosis of breast cancer. So what does it mean? See, hope in a box is not just here in Arizona, about 80–90% of it is, but it actually goes across the border, it goes into the Navajo Nations, it goes into Apache and other areas, and some of it goes outside the state. But here is the deal. She told me about a 25-year-old young girl in the service industry as a bartender. She lost her job, she has a diagnosis of breast cancer, and guess what? No elective surgeries. The breast can wait. You've been looking for reconstructive surgery, and you can't. So instead of doing 500 hope boxes in 1 year, the team did 300 in less than 3 months. Now those boxes at the cost to the charity are about $45 without shipping, but the deal is inside of there, it's about $500 of retail worth. One prosthesis is $300. Here's what's important about that. If you're actually going through the whole trauma that is breast cancer and you have actually had a breast that has been removed or cannot have reconstructive surgery, that prosthesis is the difference, just like you saw that dancer dancing away. It's the difference in how a woman feels. At Arizona, again, here at the Arizona Foundation for Women, it's health. Mental health is a huge part of this, as well as physical health. Safety, which we're going to get into, and of course, economic empowerment. Now, I want to thank Corey West, who just gave $100. And just so you know, from Colorado Springs, Denver. That's right. Do you know that right now, although we would normally be in a ballroom, I have people watching from Hawaii, New York, Virginia, and of course we just found out from Colorado, and now I just found out that Keystone Davis gave $25 from Milwaukee. And you know what? Welcome to our Arizona ballroom, because this is what's going on in the world. We're now everywhere. Margaret Foster, thank you for $250. Sonal Joshi, $50, thank you. And Alika Kumar, $100. So let's keep going, actually, more importantly, into what I've learned on COVID-19. So the next one is actually going to be one of the ones I choke up about. This is Alice's Place. Celebrating 20 years, it is the actual only facility of its kind in the Winslow area. Now I want to remind you that the Winslow area is basically right on the Navajo Nation. So now we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about abuse, we're talking about a variety of violent crimes, including rape, that are handled by this organization. So here's what's going on. Of those 65% that are Native American, right now on the Navajo Nation, and this is actually treated as a foreign corporation allowed to do business in partnership because they so want things to change. But in America, 1 in 4 women will experience violence. That's about 25%. On the Navajo Nation, it's 87%. And it's not just between couples, it's familial violence. So here's the deal. Monday through Thursday right now in the nation, the actual curfew is 5 p.m. And the curfew means you can't come out of your house. Not that you can walk anywhere, you can't come out of your house. And on Friday at 8 p.m., all the way through Monday at 5 a.m., they can't come out of their house. There's no running water, a lack of education, they're afraid of the virus. What's happening behind closed doors? Well, we're going to find out, and we're going to find out hard, because there's a tsunami coming to places like Alice's Place, who, by the way, has 4 mobile units so that they can actually go into and help people there. Those mobile units will take you to a court case. They'll help you get safe. They're providing food. But most importantly, they're also taking you to the many services to help to heal from inside. It's so much more than just putting a Band-Aid on anything. So just so you know, we're going all the way right now. I've talked to you about from areas all over and including across the border, up through Winslow and across the Navajo Nation. So now what comes next? Well, let's talk next about the women all over Arizona in Live and Learn. Now, when you're actually going on to donate, like I did, and you did 602-902-1254 and texted donate, the page that comes back has a $5,000 button, $2,500 button, and a $1,000 button, and then other. The reason we did that is because the larger denominations, we don't want you to have to get confusing with the commas. The other ones don't need commas, so it's easier. But every dollar counts. And believe me, you're counting, because she counts. So let's talk about Live and Learn, because I had an amazing experience with Kristen. Unemployment. I think economic instability is something that all of us have faced, no matter what industry you're in. But women in particular are going to get hit hard, and they already are. So in this particular program, it's twofold. One has to do with addressing mental health, then actual financial literacy. But the mental health is first, because they had one girl that kept losing her job over 6 months. The reason she's losing her job has nothing to do with the job. It has to do with what's going on up here. So that's the first aspect, is to get a woman whole from within and then teach her. Heck, I'm a single mom. Learning how to do FAFSA was one of the most stressful things I've ever gone through. They walk you through FAFSA, going through online applications, what's available to you. How many of you are trying to figure out whether or not you qualify for a PPP or whether or not you qualify for unemployment? How do you find that out? Who's going to walk you through that? They do. But here's the biggest part. With this whole flux of people that are new to the environment of actually now, what am I going to do? I am either, is it a furlough or is it a goodbye? We don't know. So while that new whole influx is coming to Kristen and the crew at Live and Learn, 30% of the women that they already worked tirelessly to get on their feet, get in a career, and get forward lost their jobs. But here's the difference that they did. Don't take unemployment. Even for many of them, it needs more money than what they were going to do. Don't take it, because it's going to stop. So we got this woman back into the workforce. And what happens when you're trying to crawl out of a hole and you're trying to get back on your feet and then the world pushes you back down? You got to have someone. See, we all know that we're told it only takes one. But the truth that no one ever told you is the one is you. So what the point is of making someone feel better from inside to know they're not alone is to help them start believing in themselves. And that's the basis of what health, safety, economic empowerment, this is what this is about and what your philanthropy is doing here. So Doug Carter, I want to thank you for giving $100. Misha Davis, our very own CEO, $100. Thank you, woman. I follow you anywhere. Jennifer Camano is in at $100. Thank you. And Nora Hanna, $250. You rock, woman. Thank you. Carlis Diaz Cadena, $100. Thank you so much for your support. And the bids keep coming in. Caitlin Raceles, $1,000. Thank you so much for $1,000. I am here watching this come in, and you're at home, and I want to tell you you're making a difference. Brianna Houlihan, $100. Thank you. Elon Lowry, $100. Thank you. And Jennifer Lowry, $25. Another thank you. Jeff Gilbert just jumped in at $500. Gail Shanks is in at $100. Morphia Apostolis, thank you. That's a great last name, $100. And Scott has also jumped in at that number. Heather Adams popped in at $50. And look at this, Ruth McGregor, $1,000. We're interacting here. I want to keep seeing your names come. I want to thank you live. We're live streaming. Send me a message. What's your favorite memory of Maryland? Why did you think about Soledad O'Brien last year? Gretchen's coming up later. So many people. Were you here for Ashley Judd a few years ago? Let me know. I want to know and talk to you. Yvette Roeder, $100, and Sandy Ross at $25. So now let's go on to Maggie's Place. So Maggie's Place is a nonprofit I've known for a long time. And one of the constrictions of Maggie's Place is they have 4 homes that are housing over 130 moms, and they have brought successfully 1,000 moms into Maggie Place and brought home 600 babies pre-COVID. So here's the deal. They celebrated their anniversary, huge anniversary, 20 years, did it virtually. They learned a lot about the virtual space, but they also had to keep 1 bed empty at every of each 4 households in case they had a COVID-19 case, which fortunately they didn't. They also have 2 apartment complexes. One is about reunification, and one is a lower adjusted income where people get back on their feet. Now, unless you have an apartment complex out there, they're at full capacity, and they told me to tell you that. If you want to send us a house or building, they're certainly not going to stop you. But here's what they learned through COVID. Number 1, my kids actually came up with this. If you think about a lot of people that have been home, some with not the best situations, my kids jokingly said that this next wave of babies coming will be called the coronials. That's right. There's going to be a lot of unwed mothers. There's going to be a lot of pregnancy, and Maggie's Place is going to be right there to service them. And it's so much more than any of that, because it's also about the services at the Family Resource Center. So what they did at the Family Resource Center is, and since they couldn't come in, which normally they would have to pay for childcare and food and all of the things with it, they actually started to create Zooming out. But here's the one thing I have found over. Free access to internet is not always accessible to everyone. But like you've seen in that video, it's about helping someone stay sober. It's about helping them stay with their child. It's helping to remind them that they have the ability to have their child no matter what they're facing. So kudos to you from Maggie's Place for continuing to do so well. So ladies and gentlemen, now, Fidencio at $100, Shavera Trillo, $100, Paula Hill's in at $100, Sue Silvestra's in, and Carrie West from Colorado Springs is at $100. Darlene Keller Price, I love it, $250, and Nina Bookbinder is in at $50, and the bids just keep coming in. So now let's keep going a little bit further. And this one's going to get a tad bit personal because it's hard. First of all, Edna's out there, and I love this woman to death, as I have for each woman that I have actually mentioned, all of these nonprofits. This is about Time Out. Now, Time Out is a shelter and the only one of its kind servicing all of Pima County. All of it. Payson, San Carlos, Apache, Tonto, all of it. They're the only ones of their kind. They got hit really hard. They had to close their thrift stores and let go of 10 employees in their thrift shop. they had to let go of 4 employees inside their shelter, and 4 employees took a pay cut to continue. So what I want you to understand is that didn't stop them from doing anything. They have continued under Edna's incredible leadership, which on the 28th of this month will come to a very wonderful transition into a new leader, but she will be retiring. So if you get a chance to tell her good luck with that, she will. So what I want to tell you about them is that, yeah, they've taken some hits, but they also went from 28 beds, 28 at full capacity. In order to follow the CDC guidelines, they went down to 16. Now, they don't turn anyone away, and they may not have the resources if someone's trying to get sober or meet something with their mental capacity. They send them out for that. But this is about relationships. So at timeout, you have 24 hours, and in that 24-hour period is your testing period. And after that, some people stay up for 6 months. So now we're at a point in the program where, as you continue to give, I hope you've learned a lot, and it's my pleasure to welcome to you probably the hardest working board member I've ever met in my life, and my friend, Monica Lindstrom.
The Voice of Women Award is presented annually to a person who has demonstrated their ability to inform the world about women's issues of paramount importance to the world and its peace and harmony. The voice that this award recognizes has found a way to focus on supporting women while meeting personal, family, and career objectives. Christy Paul is a broadcast specialist. She anchors CNN Newsday on weekends and reports and anchors on HLN weekdays. You surely remember Christy when she was an anchor, consumer reporter, and weathercaster right here in Phoenix. Christy has worked vigorously for women. She serves on the National Advisory Council for One Love Foundation, an organization founded in 2010 that works to ensure everyone understands the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, especially those in the 16 to 24 years of age that are starting to build lasting friendships. And Christy is involved in Girl Talk. It's an organization where high school girls mentor middle school girls to build self-esteem and combat bullying. Christy turned her passion for women and children into action. She helped found Find Our Children in partnership with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Washington, D.C. With Christy's help, HLN featured a segment about a missing child, asking viewers to help find that child. To date, 35 profiled children have been brought home safely. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children awarded Christy their most prestigious honor, the Hope Award. Christy is also an author, having written Love Isn't Supposed to Hurt, which discussed her journey to overcome verbal and emotional abuse. She also recorded 2 songs in Nashville that coincided with the book's release. Christy is a multi-talented woman who has used her gifts to the betterment of women and children. She is a beautiful woman inside and out who inspires us daily, especially on Instagram. And I am blessed to call her my friend. I am honored to present the Voice of Women Award for 2020 to Christy Paul.
So when Misha contacted me to tell me about this award, I actually laughed at myself a little bit because it's the voice of women, and I was speechless. I mean, I know the Arizona Foundation for Women and the work that you do is a lifeline to women. Women who felt alone, who felt forgotten. I mean, you remind them they are neither of those things. But I know how that feels, just like many of you do. I was living in Arizona when I got divorced almost 20 years ago. And the emotions that are connected to a life event like that, they are hard to reconcile. There's this sense of failure and this sense of shame and worthlessness, and I needed someone to be bold with me. Let me tell you, one of those people is Carrie Pena. Yes, you know her. She not only supported me and she encouraged me, she created a room in her home for me. And for several weeks, I lived with her until I found a place of my own. She was a light to me, and she taught me what being bold looked like. And I want to highlight that word because I'm telling you, for the last several weeks, for some reason, that word bold has hunted me down. It's popped up in my head during workouts. It was in a couple of devotions I read, several posts on social media that I saw. When there are words that are repeats like that, as I call them, I know that's my cue to listen. And we need to listen because, let's be honest, we are living in hard times, people. We are living a season where we are challenged, We're challenged by what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're thinking. It's challenging us to be bold with our honesty, the honesty with ourselves and the honesty with each other, and to be bold with our vision of how we're living right now and how we want to change how we're living right now. So a few days ago, I found one of the best examples of bold that I have seen yet. Take a look at this.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Look at her. Her fists are in the air. She's got that big voice booming out of that little body, and I thought, man, she shows us that bold comes in lots of different sizes, doesn't it? Listen, I'm a mom of 3 girls, one of whom is little, and I've always quoted Shakespeare's line to her, you know, though she be but little, she is fierce. And I don't always feel like a great example of that, quite honestly. I fight fear every day, but in those moments when we remember that we were bold once, it reminds us that we can be bold again. So that's part of what helps us find our voice, right? And it's what gives other people the freedom to find theirs. So I wanted to share with you 3 of the most important things that I've learned to be bold about. One is forgiveness, and to forgive not just someone else, but to forgive ourselves, because we're not saying it's okay what you did to us, but we're saying we're not going to let it hold us down. 2, we need to be bold with our challenges because they teach us. I mean, one of my favorite authors, Bob Goff, says, God uses the hardest parts of our lives to prepare us for the best parts. Something to think about. And then 3, we need to be bold with our authenticity, because your worth isn't wrapped up in what kind of car you drive or how many followers you have on social media or how much money you have or don't have in the bank. Your power is your genuineness and your integrity. And when I say that, I want to take a look again at that little girl, that little fireball here, because that is bold. And remember, part of the reason she feels so free to be herself there is because she's surrounded by people who let her, who encourage her, who give her a safe place to just be. And that's the kind of women we need to be. We want to be encouragers, supporters, boulders, as in rocks. Be bold for someone else. Carrie did that for me. And it really changed the way I saw myself. Bold looks different to everybody, I know. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be loud or you have to be angry. You can be, but sometimes bold is quiet. Sometimes it's kind. Whatever form it takes, do not doubt that you are made to be bold and you already have it in you to be. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for being this extraordinary group of supporters of women and families. Thank you for this incredible honor. I mean, Misha Davis, Monica Lindstrom, to the board, the co-chairs, Lisa Molina and Darlene Keller-Price, all of you who support Arizona Foundation for Women. This is important work. The work you're doing is life-changing, and I will cherish this always and in all ways.
Christy is such an amazing woman. She's actually one of my dearest friends. She was in my wedding, and both her and Gretchen really embody what AFW is all about. A little bit later, we will hear from Gretchen, and now I want to introduce you to John Elison. He's chairman of the board of directors of the Arizona Foundation for Women. John is an attorney with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and is division chief of the Major Offenders Division. John is the first man to hold the position of chairman of the board for AFW, and we applaud him for his leadership.
I am pleased to be part of the board for AFW. It has been rewarding to see the impact we have on the future of Arizona's women. I want to take this opportunity to thank my fellow board of directors and our small but mighty staff. Thank you. Today I bring you exciting news that MAN has been revitalized. MAN stands for the Men's Anti-Violence Network. Ours is not just a battle for women. Men are part of the solution. In 2000, 100 business and community male leaders formed MAN with representation from our major sports team, including people like Jerry Colangelo, Derek Hall, and Luis Gonzalez. The mission to stop domestic violence by holding the abuser accountable and working on prevention efforts with changes in public policy, public awareness, and the criminal justice system. We are fortunate to have people like the Maricopa County Sheriff, Paul Penzone, to head up the revitalization of MAN. We are grateful for his insight and involvement in this worthwhile endeavor. On your screen is a box you can click to join MAN. I join Sheriff Penzone and invite you to become part of MAN.
We're asking the men to join with us and support the safety, health, and economic empowerment of Arizona's women. Okay, John, let's pledge. Let's do it. As a man who respects women, I pledge to uphold these ideals in my home, my workplace, and my community.
I pledge to value and reinforce equality, equity, and inclusion for women.
I pledge that my words will promote equality and not perpetuate sexist comments, stereotypes, and phrases.
I pledge that my actions will support women's safety, health, and economic empowerment.
Please stand tall, be proud, and take the man pledge to support Arizona's women.
That's amazing. Of course, that's our board president, John, and then my dear friend, Sheriff. Amazing men that are actually out there. Arizona has some outstanding male citizens, so thank you for taking that oath. So let's talk a little bit about this raffle, because you have all the way until tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific. So we have people from Milwaukee giving, New York giving. Just so you know, remember, Pacific. Arizona right now is on Pacific time. So tomorrow night is when it'll end, but then Tuesday on the 16th at 12 o'clock Pacific, they'll go Facebook Live, and actually the whole crew here, Misha, Ellen, Monica, they're going to pull those raffle tickets live. So remember, there's 32 different opportunities on there, from Southwest Airline tickets to Molina Fine Jewelers to E.D. Marshall Fine Jewelers, and all sorts of wine trips and wonderful things. Right now, we are only 34 people short of hitting our goal of $20,000 on that raffle. So I want to remind you, $100 buys you 10 tickets to any one of those. So right now, we're actually at that point where we only need 34 of you to do that, and we're about to get in the main event. Real quick, I want to point out this necklace. I want you to watch this next segment because they're wearing it too, and when it's over, I'll tell you how you get your own She Counts as well. At this time, it's time for the main event. So I hope you remember, don't leave this screen, because it is with great honor that I welcome our fearless leader, the CEO of Arizona Foundation for Women, and my friend, Misha Davis.
The Sandra Day O'Connor Lifetime Achievement Award is given to individuals who distinguish themselves nationally through their leadership, their passion for women's issues, and their contributions to society. And the honorees are strong advocates in their respective fields, serving as role models to generations of Americans. And from a quote by Justice O'Connor, I'd love to share this quote. It's, "The power I exert on the court depends on the power of my arguments, not on my gender." Journalist, author, public speaker, and advocate Gretchen Carlson has set a standard for honesty and truth, and through her work has strengthened the rights of women in the workplace and the home. And Gretchen is one of America's most successful news anchors, having been named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, which is really just amazing. And she's a globally recognized advocate for women's empowerment. In 2016, Carlson became the face of workplace harassment survivors, gracing the covers of Time and Good Housekeeping magazines. And since then, she has worked fearlessly to change laws that no longer protect predators. It's about time. Thank you, Gretchen. In December 2017, she joined a bipartisan coalition of legislators to introduce the Ending Forced Arbitration of Sexual Harassment Act, which voids forced arbitration agreements that prevent sexual harassment survivors from getting their day in court. The bill was reintroduced in the House in February of last year, and Carlson testified before the House Judiciary Committee in May of 2019. And in December 2019, Carlson announced a new nonprofit initiative called Lift Our Voices, and it was to eradicate confidentiality agreements known as NDAs that muzzle women facing harassment in the workplace. And so far, she's been very successful in getting several presidential candidates to support her initiative. Gretchen has written 2 New York Times bestsellers. One is Be Fierce, Stop Harassment and Take Back Your Power, which was published in 2017, and the other one was Getting Real in 2015. And profits from her books go to her Gift of Courage Fund, which supports organizations and empowering women and young girls. And in the past 2 years, the fund has provided free workshops to low-income women facing gender-based discrimination and violence through the Gretchen Carlson Leadership Initiative. And so it was with great pleasure and pride that we present the Arizona Foundation for Women Sandra Day O'Connor Lifetime Achievement Award for 2020 to Gretchen Carlson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gretchen Carlson. Thank you so much to the Arizona Foundation for Women. I know so many of our missions and goals align, and it is truly humbling to receive this award on behalf of all women. A fellow Stanford University graduate, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor laid a foundation that has helped generations of women take risks and push for change. So in my case, that meant standing up, speaking up, and refusing to be silenced in the face of sexual harassment. I never intended to start what we're now calling a cultural revolution. But by finding my own voice and then amplifying other women's voices, we ignited a firestorm that is never going to go out. I thank Justice O'Connor for setting the stage for that change, and the Arizona Foundation for Women for recognizing it. My journey to get there, simply put, was not easy. I climbed a high professional ladder, balancing work and family, just like all of you, to become the face of networks and news outlets. My beloved identity was that of a journalist, reporting America's biggest stories. The story was never about me, at least not until July 6, 2016. That was the day that my complaint against Roger Ailes, the CEO and chairman of Fox News, went public. The ugly truth finally came out on television, radio, and social media globally. Back then, it's hard to imagine now, but there was no Me Too hashtag back then. There was no Time's Up movement. It seemed like it was just me all alone taking on one of the most powerful men in the world. And quite literally, it was like jumping off a cliff all by myself. But it turns out that I actually wasn't alone. There was this safety net waiting to catch me, and it was women, so many other women, who'd had the same experiences, and they started reaching out to me by the dozens, then the hundreds, and then the thousands. And then the floodgates burst wide open. The Harvey Weinstein allegations made us realize 15 months later that so much had been hidden behind closed doors. And then there was the downfall of so many others: Bill O'Reilly, Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, Les Moonves, Mark Halperin, Jeffrey Epstein, and so many more. In a short period of time, women were actually being believed, and perpetrators faced consequences. We all know that I certainly wasn't the first woman to fly this flag. We had Anita Hill, we've had Tarana Burke, and collectively, all of our work now has been about helping other women. I've traveled to college campuses over the last 3.5 years to speak to our young people. I launched the Gretchen Carlson Leadership Initiative to help underprivileged women across the country get help with harassment they otherwise could not afford. I've committed myself to ending forced arbitration clauses in millions of Americans' employment contracts, where harassment victims are forced into the silence and secrecy of arbitration, where no one ever finds out what really happened to them. And in many cases, the perpetrators get to keep their jobs. To me, that's not justice. That's actually a mockery of it. So for the last 3 years, I've been walking the halls of Congress, building support for a bipartisan national bill to end forced arbitration, because harassment is apolitical. This past December, I founded a new nonprofit called Lift Our Voices. It's actually the first organization in America to demand an end to arbitration to resolve harassment cases, as well as non-disclosure agreements that we call NDAs. We petitioned every presidential candidate to support our cause a few months ago. And our question about NDAs even made it to the debate stage. Wells Fargo recently announced they're eliminating arbitration clauses in employment contracts. And Condé Nast decided to get rid of NDAs for all of their entities. This is progress to be so proud of, and I am so convinced that there is more to come. We believe that our work can and will change the landscape of the American workplace for current and future generations of all women. I'm proud of my role in starting a national dialogue that has helped other women find the courage to stand up and speak up. I'm proud to stand with all of you in solidarity, now and always, because women will no longer be underestimated or put down. We will no longer be treated with disrespect and subjugated to humiliation and secrecy. Together, we will stand up and we will all say, enough is enough. Together, we will fight to have our voices heard. And above all, we will always be fierce. Thank you so much.
And Gretchen, thank you so much for those powerful words. You and I were supposed to be together on stage doing a Q&A about all of the incredible work that you are doing across the country, and really it's resonating across the world. So we want to thank you first for joining us in this virtual format. And it is so lovely to see you wearing the beautiful she necklace from AFW. And for the audience, I want to go ahead and explain quickly the significance of this necklace. This is the She necklace for the She Counts movement. It is designed by Claudia Krebschner, a fourth-generation, award-winning jeweler of global renown and owner of Stephen Krebschner Fine Jewelry. The She necklace was created in 2018 as a symbol of appreciation given to the Sandra Day O'Connor Lifetime Achievement honoree during Arizona Foundation for Women's Award Luncheon. The first person to receive this was actress and activist Ashley Judd at the 2018 event. And last year, the 2019 recipient, Soledad O'Brien, my fellow journalist, received the necklace. It has true significance to our values and mission. It represents all of the elements of our slogan, She Counts. The SHE represents our goals of safety, health, and economic empowerment for women. The partial circle represents the C in counts, and it cradles the she inside. The circle is not closed, as the work is ongoing, and there is still so much to be done. The diamond at the end of the C is the gem or shining star that will help to close the gap. And that is the person who is wearing this piece. Whomever wears this will symbolize She Counts and help us bring awareness to the cause. Wearing the necklace symbolizes a safe opportunity for someone to talk. You can join the She Counts movement by purchasing a necklace or for a special woman in your life and be among others wearing and representing the meaning of the She necklace. You can click on the She Counts necklace on your screen now. Gretchen, I have so much to talk about with you now, but first I would love to hear your reaction to receiving the necklace, especially given the significance.
Well, my gosh, it was such a surprise because, I mean, first of all, I got this beautiful other award behind me here that has my name on the bottom of it, and it says Sandra Day O'Connor Lifetime Achievement Award for 2020. I'm going to cherish that, but then when I opened up this, first of all, I love jewelry. This is my weakness, shoes and jewelry, pretty much. And when I saw this, oh my goodness, this is something I'm going to wear every single day because of the messaging of it and what it stands for. And, you know, some days I wake up and I don't necessarily feel like I want to take on the mission 100% every day. And I have another bracelet that says Be Fierce that I look down at every morning, and it reminds me that I am going to do it on behalf of all women. And now I have a necklace to also remind me of that same mission. So I am so thankful for this, and I just want to thank the jewelers that put this together and the foundation as well for giving me this very special piece.
Well, I know they were all so excited for you to be wearing that tonight. You know, as you so eloquently talked about in your thank you remarks, this has been quite a journey for you since 2016. And over these past few years, you've really elevated from a national news anchor to a national and international force for women. What has this journey been like for you personally?
Well, first of all, unexpected. I could have never envisioned how this was going to turn out, Carrie, because you know, listen, when you do something like this, and as I said, when you jump off a cliff, I didn't know what was going to happen the next second or the next moment or the next week. And the idea that this turned out remarkably as positive as it did is still very surreal to me. I thought I was going to be sitting home crying every day because I'd been fired from a job that I had worked so hard for. And instead, you know, we've made so much progress in this movement to try and solve this problem of harassment in the workplace. And look what happened with the explosion of the Me Too movement. You know, as I called it, a cultural revolution. I mean, social change takes a long time to happen. So the idea that in 3.5 years we have seen so much change, and as I said, the fact that women are being believed, it's just really a testament to all of the women who rallied behind me and said enough is enough.
You know, there's so much I want to ask you about. Of course, I want to talk to you about the movie Bombshell, but you can't talk about that. How frustrating is that for you?
I know. It's so weird. I can't even tell you if it's accurate or not. And this is why we created Lift Our Voices, to stop NDAs and stop the silencing of women being able to heal from their experiences, first and foremost, by talking about it. But also so that we can solve this. The only way we're going to solve this is to stop the silencing and the muzzling of women, and making it more acceptable to come forward and talk about these things. So what I can tell you about the movie is that I did see it. I saw it with my husband and with my children. And my kids, of course, got a good chuckle about how they were portrayed in it. But, what I can say is that I was so heartened that Nicole Kidman, somebody of her caliber, would take on a role like this, and that she would give a voice to harassment in the workplace. And even though I couldn't participate in it at all, if it encourages even just one more woman to come forward, then, it's really worth it. But I want to stop the silencing of women so that all the women moving forward don't, have to not be able to tell their own stories.
You mentioned the Me Too movement, and on the radio this morning, in fact, I heard a quote from an author, and she said that we've done a good job of giving girls more of a voice. And Gretchen, in large part, the Me Too movement is due to you and women like you. Do you think we are doing enough?
Yeah, what I've really learned over the last 3.5 years is that we do a great job of empowering our young girls in this nation. Girls actually outpace boys in high school now, and I believe that more women get college degrees even than men now. But what we really need to focus on is our young boys. I mean, I know that sounds, a little counterintuitive when we're talking about women's issues, but we actually can't do it on our own, and we shouldn't feel the pressure to have to do it on our own. I also would just add that since the majority of Fortune 500 companies are still run by men, we need them. We need them to understand what women go through. We need them to pay us fairly. We need them to promote us. We need them to put more of us in the boardroom. And we need them to stop sexually harassing us. And if they run one of those companies, they have to set that tone from the top. So really what I feel is incredibly important is that we educate our boys at a young level, so that when they grow up, they turn into the kind of men that we all want to work with, who respect us for our brains and our smarts and our integrity and our perseverance. That, to me, is a crucial piece of this entire puzzle.
Let's talk about Lift Our Voices. And from your Twitter page, I read a post that's at the top of your page, pinned there, and it says, "Join our mission to stop silencing so many women and men handcuffed by non-disclosures that stop them from telling their own stories about toxic work environments." And then you say, "Help to stop NDAs." This whole movement with Lift Our Voices is all about, as you said, a cultural revolution. Talk about the women. I imagine you hear from thousands of women and probably a fair amount of men, and tell us more about this movement.
Yes, so right after my lawsuit broke in July 2016, as I described, I started hearing from so many women. I didn't even realize it was a pervasive epidemic at that time. And as the dozens turned into the hundreds and the thousands, I realized that this crossed every socioeconomic background, every race, and every profession. And at that point, I realized I had to do something about it. So I wrote the book, Be Fierce, in honor of all of these women's stories. Then as we moved along in this revolution, the next phase of what I would call the Me Too movement is how we fix it. And I started realizing that arbitration and non-disclosures were the two ways in which society had been able to keep this issue silent and under wraps, and basically covering up companies' dirty laundry. And so if we could, with our organization Lift Our Voices, change legislation that I've been working on with arbitration and with non-disclosures, like the state of New Jersey has done, if we could do that on the federal level, we would literally change the landscape of the American workplace overnight, because companies would no longer to be able to hide this in secrecy. So that's our mission. As I said also in my comments, we got presidential candidates to come on board and support our organization. That just speaks to how important this issue is right now, and how they didn't just bat it away and say, oh, we don't care about that. They knew that they had to speak to it. And I think that's going to be really important as we move into the election in November as well.
Gretchen, I don't know how much you can say about this so we can navigate it carefully, but when we talk about a toxic work environment, I just wonder, when you were in that, you know, I know a lot of women wonder, what does that, am I experiencing that right now? And when do I speak up? Because a lot of women who are working in competitive fields like you were, and I've worked in a newsroom, you sort of have to, you know, walk a fine line there. So if you could talk to us about defining what a toxic work environment means and how perhaps you identified that and figured out, no, this is not okay. I know your situation was an extreme one.
Well, yes, and unfortunately I can't get into the details of my case. My complaint is public if people would like to go and look it up online. But here's what I've learned is that there really isn't a tremendous amount of gray area with this issue. It can be subjective, of course. If somebody says a ribald joke, you may not be offended and I might be, and vice versa. But what I've learned is that this issue is actually far more egregious. The kinds of stories that I've been hearing from women, it wasn't like, hey, I like your blue dress, or hey, that new haircut really flatters you. Nobody's going to sue for sexual harassment over that. I was hearing incredibly horrible things that were still happening in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, like, hey, if you want that promotion, get up on the desk and spread them. And thinking that there was nothing wrong with that, apparently. And much worse. So I think when people say, well, you know, there could be a gray area there, I'd say that 90% of the stories that I've heard from women are so over the top horrible, and you can't believe that this kind of stuff is still going on. So I would also just add that I think that everyone knows what's appropriate behavior and what is not. And so it would just be great if men and women would stop doing what is deemed to be inappropriate. The last thing I would just say is that one woman can make a difference, but together we rock the world. And it's one of my favorite quotes. If people decide that within the workplace they're going to come together and talk about this issue and have a more open dialogue about it, it helps to solve it as well so that women don't feel so alone.
What is your message to women, or again, to men who feel like they are being silenced or who feel like they don't have a voice? I love your platform so much and how you've used your voice as a well-known woman to speak on behalf of others. Mm-hmm. What is your message to those who need to find their own voice? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's why I wrote my book, Be Fierce. I actually have a whole playbook in Chapter 4, a 10-point, 12-point plan. The first thing I recommend is that they tell somebody, because we still live in a he said, she said culture. And telling somebody, as difficult as it is really, really important so that you can document that something was happening to you. The other thing is evidence, evidence, evidence. If it's happening to you, you need to gather evidence for the same reason I just said. I mean, we've seen countless examples of other stories happening in our culture over the last 5 to 10 years where iPhones have come in to be so handy, right? Because people can record things. And so gathering evidence is crucial. So those two things, I think finding that support system and telling people and then gathering the evidence, it's crucial in these cases so that you're believed.
What have you learned about yourself in this journey?
I've learned that the gutsy little girl that I was growing up in Minnesota is still the gutsy woman that I've become. And I thank my parents, who I still have in my life, and who are actually going to be in the audience in Arizona if we had done this in person, because they winterize in Arizona, and they were so happy to have been able to be there. But they will watch this. I've been blessed to have such a secure foundation in my life, and they taught me to always stand up for myself. And, you know, I think that was one of the greatest lessons that they could have ever given to me. Before I filed my lawsuit, I fell back on that foundation of my life and who I was at 5 years old when I ran up to the teacher and said, but I can read, even though she put me in the wrong class. You know, and what would have happened if I didn't have that voice back then? It could have changed my whole educational trajectory. So having that guts, you know, somehow, maybe some of it was innate, but being taught that, to always stand up for yourself and know that your voice matters, I credit my parents for that.
Well, Gretchen, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed getting to know you in this process of preparing for this show. And now I'm following you on all of your social media. I love to follow your Twitter feed. You keep everyone up to date with all of the incredible things that you are working on. So we just want to say thank you again for being here with us and the Arizona Foundation for Women. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you again to Gretchen and to Christy and to all of the women behind this incredible organization and to all of you for your support. To the women who empower us and inspire us to do our best every single day. Just like my friend, Letitia Fry.
Absolutely amazing. What an incredible interview by Carrie Pena. Love you, girl. And Gretchen, you have led the way for so many of us, and thank you for letting us honor you here today. I want to give a shout out to Ginger Perry, who put in $500. One of our co-chairs, Lisa Molina, at $250. Thank you so much. Diana Gregory, our former board chair, at $100, bouncing in right there. Susan Rosenstein, thank you so much, $250. And Deborah Berkeley, another $250. So while this has all been going on, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. We're 30 people shy of that 20 grand we want to make for those 32 items at our raffle. So remember, when this is over, all the way through tonight, through tomorrow till 11:59, just before the clock strikes midnight, you can still buy these raffle tickets for 32 phenomenal items. Now, we're only 30 people away from doing that. Also, our goal here in studio, we're getting closer and closer to that $20,000 goal here live. Now, this show is going to be recorded. You're going to get it emailed and out. Share it. Watch it again. Get the stats back out to people. Know what's happening not only here in Arizona, but for women as a whole due to the COVID-19 crisis and our world today. So now, before we go into this fun last part of it, I want to tell you, my name's Letitia Fry. It has been such a pleasure because so many people really halted on the thought of whether or not they went forward. I want to give a huge shout out to the women behind Arizona Foundation for Women and all those sponsors and friends that supported them for pushing through this, for pivoting, not panicking, and standing by those they serve. It is with great pleasure, although this number will go up as we continue to give, to let you know that we have raised $344,929 and climbing. And so now comes a very special part as we close out, and I hope you enjoy the weekend ahead of you. It is time now to watch a woman who started this all. She is an incredible friend, and those of you that are all over the country in Oklahoma and New York and Hawaii may not know her, but here in Arizona, she's a gem. It is now time to close out with Memories of Marilyn.
I thought, this is who I want to be when I grow up, quite honestly. And Marilyn was the very first person in my life that I met who was this strong, accomplished, successful woman, successful in her own right, and was just a force of nature. And I'd never met a woman like that before.
She had a vision for what she was trying to build, and a vision that she was able to communicate to other community volunteers.
It was in the late 90s, early in my career at Arthur Andersen. Marilyn had been brought in as an experienced partner in the financial services area. And within 1 week of her being there, she changed the dress code for all women in Arthur Andersen.
When Marilyn asks, you always say yes. There is no other answer but yes.
Well, no one says no to Marilyn. Nobody says no to Marilyn. Marilyn invites you to be part of a movement.
And at the end of the first meeting, I was hooked, and I was then in charge of setting up the corporate existence, the nonprofit, and further getting the IRS qualification for us as a charitable foundation. So that was my way of saying no.
I don't think it's possible to say no to Marilyn.
I hope that this organization will go on forever, and that's why I think we need to have an endowment and continue to work on the endowment.
It might be time to pull in one of the other metropolitan areas of the city, of the state.
My wish for AFW is that the community strengthens its support, that we all strengthen our support for the foundation so that it can continue to ask the hard questions and to do the courageous work. We need leadership in this space that is continuing to work on and push forward with equity for women, equity for girls.
Marilyn is a visionary. She is a person who has big ideas and isn't afraid to move forward with those ideas and bring others into that fold with her.
Marilyn just has such a great sense of humor and such a huge heart. It's just someone that I have looked up to my entire life, and my entire life is better because I have known Marilyn. She's been part of it.
I don't know that this organization would exist the way in its form without the leadership of Marilyn.
I would just say to Marilyn, thank you so much on behalf of women all over Arizona and girls and children. Your dedication to really the future of Arizona is something that has inspired countless people. You'll never know, Marilyn, the effect that you've had, and it's going to go on and on for generations. And we are so proud of you, and I'm so proud to know you.
Marilyn, you're the best.